Hi folks, and welcome back to Meaningful Money. Okay, here I am back on Trevian Cliff, roughly halfway between St Just over there and St Ives in that direction. Beautiful spot usually, and when I left my house about 20 minutes ago, beautiful clear day there, but here on the north coast we got a sea mist. You can't see a great deal behind me. The sea is fantastic down there, but you can't see it. Never mind, perils of shooting outdoors. Now, this is episode 102, and I'm going to do what I had planned to do in episode 101, but the budget got in the way of that. So I'm going to do Room 101. So thank you to Jenny Smythe, a Twitter buddy of mine who gave me the idea, and also to Richard Fife and Andrew Brooke Dobson, another couple of Twitter buddies who gave me some thoughts about it as well. And also, of course, thanks to my good friends at Seven Investment Management who sponsor Meaningful Money now. Thank you to them for their continued support. Right, Room 101. What would I put in Room 101? So obviously this is a financial services Room 101, where I would get rid of stuff never to be seen again from the retail financial services world, right? Now the first thing I would get rid of is a phrase, okay? And it's a phrase that is used far too often. I hear it regurgitated by clients, usually because they've heard it from their bank. And the phrase that I would put in Room 101 is to make your money work harder, all right? So, for instance, well, Mr. Client, I think we should take your money out of this very safe savings account and instead invest it in a stocks and shares investment to make your money work harder. Right, now there's a couple of reasons why I can't stand that phrase. One is because it's far too vague. Work harder? Harder than what? I suppose I know what they mean. You know, to get more interest or to be exposed to the market so that it might grow. But I believe that money should never be invested for its own sake. It should be invested for a purpose. And so if money is to be made to work harder, you know, why is got to be the question. Why is it working harder? Don't just put it in a higher risk investment for the sake of it, or because it pays some commission to the advisor. Why would you want your money to work harder if you've already achieved, for instance, financial security? Why would you take any more risk than is necessary? And that's what working harder usually means. Usually taking it from a deposit safe environment to a stocks and shares based environment. Sometimes it can be made, it can mean to move from a lower interest rate to a higher interest rate. That's okay. But the whole phrase, to make your money work harder, just takes away, for me, from the fact that money should be invested or saved for a purpose. So I would rather sort of see that phrase replaced by to give your money a better chance of achieving your goal of sending your children to private school or your grandchildren to private school, something like that. So it's got some context rather than to work harder. Just it's too vague and can't stand it. Okay. Linked to this really is phone calls from your bank whenever you get a slightly higher than normal balance in your current account. Let's say you've had a small inheritance or something and 10,000 quid gets put in your bank account. Well, within half an hour your local bank manager will give you a balance. Then Mr. Client, we see that you've got a larger than average balance in your current account. Would you like to see our financial advisor? He can come and see you next Tuesday. Is that okay with you? And before you know it, you're like, okay. Tell you what, I can't stand that. Now, I shouldn't make sweeping generalisations about banks. My brother-in-law is a bank advisor and a very, very good one. My colleague Chaz is also a former bank advisor and looks after his clients superbly, and always did when he was at the bank. But banks are shops these days. They're just out to sell you things, okay? We're all in it to make a profit, of course. But banks are about high turnover, rapid fire, get you in, get you out, flog you something on the way through. So making your money work harder, always ask the question, why? Why would you want to make your money work harder? It's got to be for a purpose, right? So that's the first thing, okay? I'm already feeling my stress levels dissolve as I get these things off my chest, okay? Second thing I would put in Room 101 is opaque charging, alright? Now this is pertaining to investments, products, maybe pensions and things like that. Things where the charges that you're paying on them perhaps are not as clear as they should be. So for instance, your average collective investment fund, an OIC or a unit trust, will always talk about its AMC, its annual management charge. But what the fund management groups rarely tell you is about the extra charges on top. Okay, and the AMC, annual management charge, plus those extra charges, which are hidden effectively, are combined to form something called the total expense ratio. Sorry I keep looking around, this is a very public spot. I've already had to stop 3 times for people walking past. So the total expense ratio is what you want, but it's not law yet that has to be what is the word? That has to be disclosed. There you go, thank you very much. So, opaque charging, hidden charging, capital units is another way that insurance companies can get away with this. So if you're setting up a pension, they may say that your premiums for the first 3 or 4 years buy what are called capital units. Well, that is code for extremely expensive upfront charged units, where a large percentage of your premium, instead of actually going into your pension pot, might just go to the insurance company. So, opaque charging, can't stand it. Costs are really important, have got to be kept down, and you need to know what they are, whatever you're investing in or saving in. The last thing on opaque charging is something called increased allocation, where you get given extra money by an insurance company for investing a lump sum with them. Given, okay? As long as you stay with them for 8 years or something. The problem is that extra money that you're given, you're paying for it. You're just paying for it on the drip in higher annual charges, right? So I like transparent, clean charges where everybody knows exactly what they are. So, second thing I would want to put in Room 101 is opaque charging structures. The sooner we get better regulation of products, the better. And finally, my final rant, one that I've been banging on about for years, the thing that I would put into Room 101 finally is companies, banks, building societies, insurance companies getting involved in stuff they just can't do, right? I believe a lot of the ills in this industry are down to companies getting involved in stuff they just should never have done. So let's think about this now. How about NatWest Bank setting up an endowment, which they did years ago, an endowment policy, so that they could flog their own endowment to their own mortgage customers. So they get 2 bites of the cherry then. They get the mortgage and they get the endowment commission. But the endowments were rubbish, not just NatWest, all the banks were doing it. And the endowments were rubbish and people didn't pay off their mortgages. Banks and building societies should stick to what they're good at. They should lend money, take money in on deposit, lend it out on mortgages and things like that. Insurance companies should insure things, pretty obvious really, or provide insured savings, things like basic pensions, stakeholders, things like that, rather than get involved in stuff that they shouldn't do. Investment houses should just do investment, right? And financial planners and IFAs should do what they're good at, which is planning and advising, and not necessarily running money. We made a decision at Jackson's 6 years ago that there were plenty of people better out there to make day-to-day financial decisions as to what our clients' money should be invested in and out of on any given day. And that's why we use 7 investment managers to help us do that. So we decided we would stick with what we're good at, which is the personal relationship side, and give the money management to them. So anyway, rant over, gone on far too long already. I'd get rid of, to make your money work harder, I'd get rid of opaque charging, and I'd get rid of companies and people just doing stuff that they shouldn't do. Instead, stick with what they're good at. So thanks for humouring me, and goodbye from Trevine Cliff, and I'll see you next time when we're going to talk about tax year end, which is pretty imminent.